The vaguely humanoid creature identifies itself as the Nesk, but uses plural pronouns like we when referring to itself, kind of like the Borg. The Nesk say they've been following the two Animorphs since last night, studying them and learning their language, and then tells them that these Spinosaurus need to be protected because they're dying out, and, like all creatures on this planet, the Spinosaurus belong to them. Rachel doesn't take kindly to having a gun pointed at her, so she spins around and decks the Nesk with her tail, causing him to split into two, only to have the lower half to break apart into tiny pieces and reform with the upper half. That's when we learn that the Nesk are actually a bunch of space ants that link together to form shapes. They're space ants because the Animorphs morphing ants was one of the most dramatic moments in the series thus far, and KA needed a quick and cheap way to make these creatures seem threatening. A good way not to make your aliens seem threatening is to have Rachel and Tobias successfully scaring away the Nesk by stomping on the ants. You know, the Yeerks are bug-like creatures too, but they wouldn't be threatened by a magnifying glass in a can of Raid. The Nesk retreat, but soon two crafts shaped like silver elongated pyramids fly in and start blasting the crap out of the scenery. Rachel and Tobias make a run for it, but soon find themselves trapped between a wall of space ants, two killer spaceships, and a sheer cliff face. At this same time, the other four Animorphs are having troubles of their own, having morphed Bird to scout out the alien city at the bottom of the same canyon. However, this gets the attention of a flock of pteranodons, who start to chase them around until they spot three hummingbirds and go after those instead. No, wait. Instead, Rachel and Tobias have no choice but to jump into the canyon, and as luck would have it, they both manage to snag a hold of one of the pteranodons and start hang gliding. Eventually, everyone lands on top of a force field protecting the alien city. The pteranodons decide to go chase some moths, and the nest ships are nowhere in sight. Everyone is all happy and stuff, and Tobias gives them all the technical details of just when in time they are. Marco moaned. "Aw, man, 65 million years. I thought it was just maybe 6 or 7 million years. I was holding out hope that we'd find some primitive people, you know, like in that old movie, Quest for Fire. Only the Babe tribe, not the hairy tribe. There would be this primitive tribe, and because of my superior knowledge, I would become their ruler." "Your superior knowledge in what, Marco? Your superior knowledge of Spider-Man's superpowers?" Rachel asked scornfully. "Oh, well, now we know what Marco is an expert of in this book." As they're catching up on an invisible platform above an alien city, they are finally approached by the Denzins, a bunch of rainbow-colored crabs that communicate through thought-speak called Mercora. The Animorphs explain who they are, and the Mercora reveal that they immigrated to this planet when their homeworld got sucked up into a black hole, and this small city is all that's left of their race. Then the Nesk showed up and tried to kick them out, but the Mercora have been able to defend themselves well enough with their force fields. The Mercora proclaim that this will be their home forever, which, of course, we know ain't gonna happen. The Animorphs are led into the city, where they magic heal Tobias' broken wing, because there's no need for that plot device anymore, and the Animorphs are fed broccoli like vegetables, which of course spurs a lot of anti-broccoli jokes. I never got the supposed dislike kids are supposed to have for broccoli. I have always loved this stuff, and hearing Marco moan about getting free food just makes me put my face in my palms. So the Nesk and the Mercora, the two laziest alien races in the entirety of Animorphs. On one hand, we have the dark, despotic, single-minded race that enslaves planets for no real reason and has the worst quality of ants along with the shades of the Borg. And on the other hand, we have the colorful, friendly, and generous crab immigrants who eat their vegetables and are basically space hippies. In a series that prides itself in showing the complexity of morality, that the Yeerks are neither 100% evil nor the Andalites 100% good, there is not a single shade of gray in this whole setup. You couldn't get more black and white if you tried. And yes, it's going to stay this way throughout the entire book. This is like a bunch of zombie Nazis versus a bunch of starving Mexican orphans. Give me a break. Axe, the only competent one in this book, discusses science with the Mercora and deduces that they'll need to create an explosion of equal or greater magnitude in order to get back to their original time because of, quantum? They begin to argue where to create such an explosion since they don't want to kill the Mercora. "So, we do the explosion out in the countryside," Rachel said. And wipe out a few 100,000 dinosaurs? Cassie said. Besides, Jake pointed out, the Makora have already told us that they don't control the countryside. Out there, beyond the force field, the Nesk are more powerful. The logistics of this confuses the hell out of me. Want to avoid killing a bunch of dinosaurs? Well, look around and find a place with fewer dinosaurs. Want to avoid the Nesk? Go where the Nesk aren't. Guys, you have the whole planet to work with, and last time I checked, planets are big. The Makora have flying saucers. You can probably get around in many places pretty quickly. Are they implying that the Nesk have control of the entire planet? Because it certainly doesn't seem that way from what we'll see later. Well, I guess the discussion is all moot, because the Makora spend their days beating tambourines and singing Kumbaya, and don't have any explosive weapons anyway. The only place that might have them is the Nesk base 20 miles from here. They figure that the Nesk don't seem interested in killing dinosaurs, so they might be able to use their dinosaur morphs to sneak into the base and steal a missile. Cassie doesn't feel like agreeing with anything today, so she naturally objects. Wait a minute, why are we attacking the Nesk? Cassie demanded. Just because we don't like them doesn't mean we take up sides in the Makora-Nesk war. What? First off, who's taking sides? You're stealing a bomb to use in an empty field. This will not hurt the Makora in any way, and I'm pretty sure the Nesk will be just as powerful and evil if you take a single explosive from them. Secondly, how is this even a war? The Makora sit in the city protected with force fields and do nothing, and the Nesk sit in a base protected by weapons and do nothing. This isn't so much a war as it is two people from across a football field pointing fingers at each other and going, "Oh, why you?" Finally, 2/3 of the way into a book about time travel, the Animorphs start to discuss the consequences of time travel. So the classic question is raised. Is it possible to change the past, or is the timeline fixed? Does the fact that you're in the past now mean you were always in the past? Now, anyone who's read the Andalite Chronicles knows that, based on the internal laws of the Animorphs universe, you can change the past, but let's be fair and discuss only what the Animorphs themselves have experienced. The first time the Animorphs experienced anything like time travel was in number 7, The Stranger, where the elements took them to an alternate future where the Yeerks had taken over Earth and all the Animorphs were controllers. Now, even if both of those things came true, we know that the future seen in that book is not the exact future that'll happen, because in that future, the Kandrona was still present in the EGS tower, whatever that is. Now, you might argue that the whole thing was an illusion created by the Elemist, but nobody can say that with certainty. Then we have number 11, The Forgotten, in which the Animorphs went back a day due to a serial rip, the same kind of event that sent them back to the time of dinosaurs. After dicking around in the Amazon, Jake dies and his consciousness is put into his other past self, and he stops the Animorphs from doing the things that results in them going back in time. This is clearly a change in the timeline, and while most of them don't remember the event, both Jake and Axe are very aware it happened. Finally, we have a number 13, The Change, in which the Elemist sends Tobias back a few months so that he can acquire his human self, an event that Tobias doesn't remember. This instance isn't as clear as the other two, but when you combine all of these instances together, then you can change the timeline is a pretty safe bet. But of course, not a single one of these 3 events are even mentioned. Tobias has the most interesting take on the whole situation, basically saying that if you can change things, they've already changed so much by their presence that they might as well rape the space-time continuum as much as they want. This decision may not be clear, Tobias said quietly, but another decision may be so obvious we can't ignore it. And so it begins. So Jake makes the final decision, and they decide to approach the Nesk base at dawn. Axe asks, why dawn? Tradition, Marco said. You do shootouts at high noon, you stretch in the 7th inning, you attack at dawn. Like much of human thinking, this is a mystery to me. You also get executed at dawn, Cassie said. Wow, Cassie, you really are the ray of sunshine that lights my world. I'm starting to think Cassie and Marco had a mind meld before this book that resulted in Marco walking away with Cassie's sense of charity, hence the submarine rescue, and Cassie walking away with Marco's cynicism. During the night, the Makora shuttle the Animorphs to the edge of the Nesk defensive grid, 5 miles away from the base, which is exactly why I'm pretty sure the Nesk haven't conquered the planet. Why do you need a defensive grid like this if you control the entire planet? The Makora give Axe a thought-speak communicator and leave, so the Animorphs all morph into their dinosaur morphs and start making their way to the base. Cassie is nervous about morphing a T-Rex. In all of Earth's history, all the millions of years and all the billions of animals that have come and gone, this one single creature was the most powerful predator. You hear that, Jurassic Park 3? You're full of lies! Well, this being the first time the four have morphed a Tyrannosaurus, they naturally have trouble controlling its instincts, which are basically Hitler if he was a giant lizard. The four T-Rexes start fighting with each other over territory, but then focus their attention on eating Rachel and Tobias. Again! Dinosaurs getting distracted from what they are doing to chase small and difficult Holy crap, a mouse with a cookie crumb! I gotta get some of this action! I'll finish the review later, guys!